Acura TL builder here. So today I am redoing the valve cover gaskets, and there's two of them because it's a V6, and you'll have to start by taking off the trims carefully, and then you have to take this off to get to these because see, it's hanging over it. So what you do is you unplug this one, basically everything that's connected to the intake manifold. You take off this one, I'll need a tool for that. This one will need to be unplugged as well. I'll just undo it from here. I can do it by hand basically, like this. You unplug this one here. So you just unplug that one, and then it'll be in here like this when it's plugged in. So just take it off that one because you're going to be taking this off as well. You unplug this one right here. You press it down back here, and then you'll need a tool for the other stuff. Something like this. So you take a tool and you just move this out of the way. And I usually like to twist it just to break the torque on it, and that way it's easier to pull up and off of it. It's hard to do with one hand. Okay, so that's off. Then you take this one off here. This one that's connected to this thing. It's probably best just to undo this side because this whole valve cover is coming off, and then when you wipe it down, you don't want this on there. That way you don't lose the placing of it. Break the torque by twisting it, and be very careful, especially if you live in a very hot climate, because this gets pretty brittle, same as this one. So then you undo this one, which I already have, then undo, there's not enough room. You'll have to undo these 4 bolts. There's 2 here and 2 on the other side to take this thing off. Then once you have this off, you can continue working with this one. So you undo this one, that one, and that one. It's the same procedure when you want to change your air filter. I like to undo this one, not this one, to take this box off, because that way it just goes as one, and then this piece just doesn't hang out and nick you when you're trying to do work. And then you take this one off. You also have to undo this clip here, under here, and you'll have to take this and pull it off to remove this thing, the air intake. So I've removed that there. This is exposed. Then we pulled this off here, off of the intake shroud. And then take this clip off, remove that part. After you take these 2 bolts off, right here, you move this up and out of the way, but to move it out of the way, you have to unplug it from the strap bar, yeah. So to do that, there's a little clip here, and you pull it towards the center of the car, like this, up and out. And then we have to remove this strap bar to better access the rear valve cover, which will be 3 bolts. Alright, so you got this out of the way. We undid these bolts here on either side. So there's a bolt right there that I already took out, and the bolt right here. I took this clip off from right here as well, and a bolt right there that I removed. That then releases this thing off of the strap bar. Then I undid this bolt here, and then this is the engine harness where it meets the dash harness. or loom, whatever people like to call it. Undo this, lift up and over, because there's a little tab there to hold it in place, and just move it off of the strut bar. Then you have everything free. What I like to do is put all my bolts back, whether I'm working on the engine or working on any part of the car, if possible. I should probably point where I'm working. I like to take off the bolts and put them exactly where I got them. That way there's never any confusion of, was that bolt from that one? Is that the right type of bolt? You know, sometimes the length differ, and then you'll put all the bolts in, like in the transmission, and you'll miss that special bolt that is right there, and then you'll be like, oh, this one's different than the rest. And yeah, it just saves you time. So I got that off. I'll be taking the strut bar off next. So now that the strut bar is off, I went and put this is your cruise control, the cruise control like farther down and away from that the vacuum cover, valve cover, and move this kind of out of the way. So next we'll be taking these off. This one's already off. So I'll be taking this off. There's also 2 bolts here, so you're going to want to unhook this right here. Actually, you don't have to unhook this. Just take this number 10 bolt off and the other one right below it, and then this pulls out and then out of the way. Maybe let's unplug this. Yeah, let's just make it easier to work. And then we'll have to eventually unplug this one as well. So let's see. Yep. Now that we've taken this off right here, put back the 2 nuts, then take all of these off in sequence. So last person that worked on it didn't know how to torque these correctly, and now look, loose, 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 loose. Yeah, it's not good, fellas. So when you do this, make sure to not ruin this soft magnesium or manganese, because you got to do it in a certain order. If you just do them willy-nilly, then what's going to happen is these are going to loosen up over time, and you could create a vacuum leak and be wondering why that happened. Or you could over-tighten them and then ruin the threading on this intake manifold, and then it'll always be loose. So I got the lid off, put these bolts back on. So whoever worked on this last didn't tighten this one, so it was just loose. So you take this one off, but first start in the middle. Loosen, 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 loosen. Then loosen, loosen. Then you can take off the ones with the nuts on them, because those are the ones that are final holders, and you don't want extra pressure onto the aluminum runners by undoing these. So loosen all the ones that are connected to aluminum, and then undo these steel ones, because steel on steel, the nuts are, the nut and stud. So once those are off, then there's another one. This is to throttle body cable. A lot of you guys that switch it out to like J37 ones, you know about this one. Okay, that one's off, I guess, so I don't have to undo this water line here, which a lot of you guys do the ultimate cooling mod on Acuras, and you'll see is they'll undo this one and just loop that one onto itself, loop it to that, and that way you never have throttle body being prematurely warmed by this right here. The reason people loop that one right there and then leave this one free, and even not take this screw out and the other one screw out and take this piece off, that's because they did that because in very cold climates, this way you don't get a sticky flywheel butterfly. So that's the reason they made it warm up, but then it keeps it warm, it keeps it hot, it keeps it the same temperature as your radiator, because you're running the coolant through it. So you undo those, I moved them over here, then you take this off and then put these back on just to keep its placement, or just put them back into these holes here once you have this off. So once you have these 2 bolts off and these 2 bolts off and these 2 nuts off, actually, I put them right here, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can then separate this one. Hopefully the gasket is still good. If it's not, you can just take the whole manifold off and turn it on its side, and then perhaps somehow get to these 2 bolts and then undo it. You'll have some leakage though, or you can just undo these 2 here, but then you'll have leakage down there. I don't want any coolant leaking, so I just opted to take this off and take the throttle body off. You may need a new gasket, or you can use a gasket maker, or it's like $2-3 online for another gasket, or less, even less on Rock Auto. But I like doing OEM when it comes to any gaskets, seals, things like that. OEM seems to always be the go-to. Anything rubber, basically, especially, seems to be of higher quality. So when you're done with that, it basically just comes right out, lifts right out, and it's very light, so it's easy to pull out. That's what it looks like when you pull that off. So we'll put that over here next to the intake plenum. That's what I believe it's called. So let's see, we have 310cc injectors on Type S, 270cc injectors on the base model, and as well as the 6-speed 04 to 06s. And a lot of people, they upgrade to like the 410 cc's, but it's not necessary unless you're doing comp tac or something low boost. Let's see what we have here. Or if you just want to run E85 and run 410s, you will do that too. I haven't seen anybody else do it yet, but I did it and it runs great. So I recommend it, even on a racing platform. So see how we have, looks like oil, so it looks like that's coming in from right here. So see, this needs to be replaced. We'll see when we can take these off. So what we're aiming to do is take this off and this off, and now we have access to it. So next thing we'll do is I'll unplug these. So I get these surgical gowns from work, so I wear them to not smudge up my clothing. So you take these off, the 3 on the other side, exactly the same thing, sequence. Then you take a, what is it, like a 10? Take this one off, this one off, this one off, and I believe on the 99 to 03s you'll have like a hex socket, and I forgot which one it is, but on our 3G TLs it's gonna be these 10s. So I'll take these off and I'll pull these out. So you'll see them gone on the next scene. So I took some cloth I got at work and I just cut it into pieces. It's more to cover all these holes because you don't want a bolt or some gunk to go down in there, or even worse, where the valve is open, then take the valve is open and it goes into the cylinder, then you got a real mess. So it's good to cover all these holes, including these EGR valve hole, which is controlled by this thing, the EGR valve. So you cover those holes. I even take this gasket off, but I didn't because I'm pretty careful. So I have these cut off. I'm gonna take these off, and on the other side as well. I already unplugged the other ones. On this side, right here, 1, 2, and 3. I'm also gonna take this bolt off, and that'll then take this off and out of the way, because it'll be off the valve cover, and I'll have more room to work. You guys still see it's kind of difficult because this thing this whole plastic piece where the loom travels through, the electrical loom, the engine harness, and this thing right here, it travels across and it'll stay across. So what I do usually before I take the gaskets off is, once I free these up, you'll see later, I'll clean this and this one, so that way no gunk gets onto the valve train itself, because it's going to be hanging over on both sides, because it becomes very difficult to move it out of the way. So we'll then also take this off, this one right here, undo that, and undo this bolt here, and this bolt right here, and then this will free this one up off the valve cover. So this bolt to take this off, that bolt right there to take the loom off, and that bolt to move this up a little bit. You'll have to then take To get this loom off, you'll have to pull towards the car. It's kind of counterproductive. You think it's, or counterintuitive. You think that you pull on it this way and it comes off, but it won't. You push away and then it comes off, see? As well as, where else? As well as right here. So you'll take this, and this one, you just go away from it. See how you do it, and it actually stays popped. And then clips in. So away, not too much though, because you'll break it. These, especially on cars that are in very hot climates, these will become very brittle and they'll crack. So even best to put a little bit of oil or something there to rehydrate it, or whatever you're using. So yeah. So just like in the cat install video, did I post that? I don't think I posted that actually. So I had I'll post it so you guys can see kind of an overview of how to do the cats. So there's a 10mm bolt here you got to undo, and then because the reason you have to undo this one and move this up and out of the way is because you can't take this out without doing so. So I'm gonna take that bolt out, and then there's a heat shield. The reason they have this heat shield here is so plastic doesn't melt, because this cat is so close. So you move the heat shield, and then don't let the bolt fall and the heat shield fall, and then you just up and out of the way, because it's like in these you'll see right here, this little guide here. So when you guys take this off, you'll be able to take this off. I put the screws back on in the front and the back so I don't lose them, and I took the rear ones out. What I did was I reversed this and put this underneath this, kind of prop it up, using the cruise control. So take this one out, this one out, this one out, and they'll come out. The important thing to do with these coilover plugs, these coils, is don't drop them onto the ground, because if you drop them, then they could break and you'll need a new one, and then it's expensive to get an OEM one. OEM ones are what I would buy when it comes to these kinds of things. Alternator, starter, things like that, yes. I'll make a video later about rebuilding a starter and a alternator. It's much cheaper. You can do it for $20, and you're using OEM parts, or $30, and the OEM alternator, as well as these starters are very good. The only thing that actually goes bad on them are the terminals. There's these two terminals on this electrical side right here, not the motor. Here's where this is. The motor, it doesn't go bad unless you screw up the teeth over time somehow. But these, it's just the two terminals that go bad, the plus and the minus, because that's where their electrical contact is. Go and then high amount of voltage, so those go bad. So you just, they're like 80 cents or $1 these days, and you just take one screw out, take them both out, or two screws, and replace them with the fresh ones, and it'll work just like brand new, because it will be brand new at that point. That's why they always give you a core charge for this, or they give you a core, or you get a refund of some money when you give this one back and this one back, because they just take them, they wash them and rebuild them, take those clamps out, or just redo the bearings and the electrical portion on this thing, and then they resell them. That's why. Same thing with the batteries. That's why they're like, hey, bring your old battery back, especially when you're giving them original parts. They love it. So those are removed, and now what I do is I need to take this one off right here, or do I? I don't know. I don't have to take it off. So see, you only have so much room here to work with, so it's going to be kind of tricky to undo these bolts. Is next. All right, I'll make this more presentable. So be careful not to drop anything in there. And I would, if you're working in the air and you're not very careful, you have to take this out anyways. Always take this out when you're working on the engine. These are the OEM ones. You don't want these to break. I've broken so many of them right here at the neck, and I'm sure some of you guys have as well. You break them at the neck, and then you have to use like a screwdriver to like pop it out every single time to check it. It's kind of a pain. It doesn't look very nice, you know. It looks nice when it's pop-outable. So oil is good. I'll just put that over here because it goes all the way down to the through the engine and into the through the head and then to the side of the engine and into the oil pan. So to take this out, you'll have to take this out, and you can cover it with some painter's tape. That blue painter's tape I find works best for like stuff like this, or even instead of putting this, just put some painter's tape. Take out this black gasket, it's the multi-steel one, and put some tape on it, the painter stuff. It'll work maybe even better than this stuff. Because you could get a bolt on the side there, not see it, pull this out and it'll go flip, and then go inside. And a number of times, not even those magnets, you know, those extendable ones, won't get it out. So, let's see, yep, so I'm gonna take this bolt off. First I'm gonna clean this and clean this. I use some manual transmission fluid, just use stuff. You can use whatever you want to clean it. I find that rehydrates it. It dries off as well as cleans it very well. I clean all my engine components with it instead of throwing it away. So I'm going to clean that, then I'm going to undo this bolt, this bolt right here, and this bolt, and theoretically we'll be able to take this valve cover out. We'll start with the front and then work our way to the back, so that way we kind of get an idea of how to take it off where it's visible. Okay, so I've taken the front off. I undid this bolt here, and I moved this out of the way to get more room here. I undid this one right here. It goes in just like that from the other side. Pulled this off. I undid this one. And what else? So I'm trying to get this one out. It's kind of difficult. You have to kind of move this out of the way. And this on the other side has to come up and over these three. So I usually put a flathead and just very gently pry, and they'll go pink, pop off. You kind of pry from the other side, and just enough to pop it off, but don't mar that right there, because then you'll have a leak. So I'm trying to get it off. I got it up and over, but I need to take this hose off. So what I do is, I'm not taking this one off, I'm taking this one off. It's easier, because that way you can pull from this side and it'll pop off. So what I do to take these off, these hoses, get an appropriate size wrench and put it in here. And see how it goes up against it? Go up against it and then pull from here. And it'll pop off pretty easily versus trying to like rip on it and then ruining the hose and having to get a new one. It's just, will save you headache, especially if those hoses are brittle. Acura TL builder here. So to take this one off, you'll find it easier to take this heat shield off. So you take this bolt off and this bolt off. Once you do that, you can take this heat shield off and have easier time moving this valve cover out this way. So you know when you have that thing on your display inside on your navigation saying tighten fuel cap? So that's because this thing goes bad. Usually right here, this module, the one that this is plugged into, this module goes bad. So if you replace that, you'll lose that tighten fuel cap thing. So I have this set up. You remove that number 12 there, and you don't want to damage it, because then I'll have to tighten my fuel cap. So you take that screw off and you move this out of the way, so then I have more wiggle room to pull this out. So guys, it is pertinent to take this 12mm bolt off. See, I put it back on and I moved this out of the way so I don't tighten the fuel cap. And now this whole thing moves out of the way much more. Careful not to like break anything here. So see, it moves out of the way, and now you can grab it and take it out much easier. Alright fellas, so with the removal of that thing, with that bolt there, I was able to up and at them. So I've seen these rear ones, they're usually cleaner than these that have less of the oil tarnish on them. This isn't bad, but I've seen them much better. Maybe the oil wasn't changed as frequently as it should have on this thing. But just driving it normally and changing the oil in the future the detergents will clean a lot of that out. So I noticed that a lot of these are kind of, I mean, they're fine, but I'm not going to do the valve lashes today. So the valve lashes, if you want to do those, there's a special tool that they sell, which it's like a 10 that goes over, and then you undo it, and then you do the lash between right here. To do that, you'll need, take this, I need to clean this. You will need this right here. Where is it? So here's the valve lash, so you could look online which one you need to use. So you use one of these and you go in between, not too tight, but just enough to where you can freely go between the rocker arm and the valve itself. And what you do is you put this over it, and then the screwdriver, you undo it, and you use a screwdriver to move it whichever you need to get that lash right there to go freely. And you have to turn the crankshaft as you do it. There's a sequence you need to do it. You need to do it right, or else it's going to be real chattery. So here is the two valves. So this is the thing about, it seems like somebody changed just these, but not the spark plug holes or these right here. I always wondered how these work. See, these are soft because they're new. These are real brittle, pretty hard rubber at this point. But this is my new one, and it's actually not OEM, and it probably should have been. I got it at Rock Auto. They don't sell OEM, but I mean it's good. It's a good rubber, but it's a little bit harder. If you look at the OEM one, not only does it just has that extra ribbing there, but man, it's like, I don't know how long this has been running for, but it's like real nice and stretchy. Just a great rubber. I mean, it's real nice. It seems like it's going to work for a long time. Real stretchy rubber. But this one's a little bit harder, so it seems like it's going to get brittle sooner than the OEM one. So just a note for you guys that the OEM stuff is what you want to buy when you're using rubbers and hoses and things on the car. Alright fellas, so to put these on, I put a new one on. I don't know why it's brassy like that. I could have used the new ones, but these are like glued to these, unlike the old ones that are disconnected. So buy the OEM ones, that way you can reuse these and look nice and shiny. So what I do is, I've actually never done this before, so we're going to learn it together. So these come apart, right? So see how they come apart, and this will just slide out, but this one won't slide out. So you have to cut it out, and be careful not to cut it out right here, because this is where it keeps the seal on. So cut it out over on the skinny area if you can, as high as possible. And I don't know if you can see this. So you basically just take one of these crippers or snippers and snip this and snip this. Then you can take this off. Then this one comes off. Hoping you can see all that. And then you clean it. This oil here, and then I don't know what's going on. And you can tell which ones are for the fronts and the rear, because the rear head's going to be, rear bank head is going to be cleaner. And so you'll see these are going to be like brand new looking. Well, these in the front, they got some tarnish on them. So you can keep some of that at bay by changing your oil every 3,000 to 5,000 max. And I literally mean 5,000 max. So see, I know these weren't changed, and only these ring seals that go around the head were changed because of how brittle this plastic is. Really, it's real brittle. So these have not been changed. So you cut these out just like we did on the other one, and it'll look like this because you'll take this off. And you take this new one. I put a little bit of oil or something, anything, just to kind of help it squeeze on in. So I just put a little around here and around here, just a little bit. And you put it on like this. I would kind of get it started on the sideways, so it kind of looks like one of these numbers. And then take, I have here, it's working, a 17. And like a deep socket 17, and what I'm doing is I just put it like this, and that way kind of all is one, and you kind of work it ongoing circular motion a little bit, and you work it on. See, it pops right on. So I figured out this is kind of the best way I could do this. And then see, pops right on. And you'll see that the old ones here, they don't have much grab anymore, much bite when you turn them. While the new ones, they got a lot more bite, so they're going to seal this oil out a lot better. Alright, your TL builder here. So I learned how to take these out now. Basically what I did was you take, here's another one that I didn't do yet. You take this, and I have a kind of curved one, and so what you do is you kind of get it not too far in, but you pry it right behind there and put something underneath here. What I'm using is one of these. I just basically put it on the lip of it so I don't mar the aluminum. It won't really hurt it because it's on the inside here, but you don't want to go too far that way. But I'm also putting this stop here, and then you kind of just give the beams. See, it's just breaking. Gonna put it in there a little more, and then. So they're not supposed to be coming out like that. This looks like, so for the next guy, please don't put any gray sealant on here, because I think it like froze these and made them worse over time. These are already bad to begin with. But it looks like somebody has tried to make these work better, and it's not sealing from this side, it's sealing from this side here, because that's where this is basically always going to be good, but it gets weak here, and that's where it starts leaking. I think here's the rear one. It was leaking behind here, and then dripping onto my rear cat, and then burning it, making a burning smell. So, same thing with this one here. It seems like it was both of them. And then there was this one as well, but that wasn't going anywhere. It was just kind of leaked. So, help the next guy. Don't put any gray sealant on it. By the time you need to change them, you're probably going to have to change all of them again, especially if you're using OEM. So here's just a demonstration of how they're. I don't know if you guys can hear that, but this is not rubber anymore. This is plastic, and this is so hard. You can't even undo it. It's just stuck in this position. I can't do that without. Maybe I can use pliers. Like, this is how bad these are. Yeah, there we go. That's the only way I can. And now that I've done that, and these are large pliers, these aren't, jokes. So I can't even undo that. This is just how brittle these are. It's like mariachi. You know what I mean? So, anyways, get these replaced, and probably a good idea to do valve lash while you're doing that. So yeah, so you take them off, and next scene you'll see how to put them on. Alright fellas, so I have a spare set. This came off some random car, and if you look, this is the rears off of the Type S. Look at that, looks like garbage. And this is the front and rear of some random engine that I have. It looks brand new in there. This is somebody that took care of their stuff. This is the front, which is usually worse than the rear. This is the front and back of the Type S. Now, can you imagine? This is somebody that has, this is like a human that has had a nasty diet. Not drinking much water, eating processed foods, smoking, drinking, all sorts of things all their life. And this is somebody that took care of themselves. You see the difference? I mean, just imagine what the engine looks like inside with this kind of thing. This is garbage. When you look the same on the outside, that looks better, but on the inside, it's, you can tell they changed the oil. And this right here, the rubber is still so, you can even see that, like, it's soft and supple. You can see it like giving way. Also, these right here, if you look at these new ones that I have, I mean, they're good. They're not these plastic ones. They're still rubber, but it's kind of like a cheaper dry rubber. These I know are OEM. I'm not even going to put these on. I'm just going to use these OEM ones off some of the rando engine I have in the shed. Because, I mean, they are, I don't know if you can see it giving, but they're real supple. These are really nice. So the only thing I'm going to reuse is these. I should have bought OEM ones, so next time, guys, always buy OEM, especially when it's rubber, because it's just higher quality everything. As well as, if you look at these rubbers from the OEM ones and these, there's actually more rubber coming down. I don't know if you can see it, but there's a line right there. See how it's darker there? That's where the old rubber, the OEM rubber, used to be. And it's actually like 3 millimeters more than this aftermarket one. See, they're trying to save rubber. Not only is it lower quality rubber, it's probably older rubber, but there's not as much rubber. So better to use a rubber. And so I'm going to reuse these liners, these right here, because they're in great condition. The reason I pulled these out in the first place is because I looked at these, and where is it? Right here. Looks like somebody tried to redo these at one point. Figured out they only had these and reused these, or used new ones of these, but didn't get new of these, and didn't get new of the spark plug hole gaskets. So they were trying to take out the original ones, and they couldn't, and so they took something and looks like a sledgehammer and just sledged it right here and basically marred this right here. So if you look, these covers are made of, here's the little Trojan guy, the Roman guy, it's upside down. But these, if you look here, just like our intake manifolds, these are manganese, super lightweight. They'll crack pretty easily. They're kind of brittle, but it's very lightweight. I don't know if they're brittle, they'll crack, but anyways. But see this right here? This is not going to fly, because when you put it back on, this is always going to be marred, and you're always going to have an issue here. This seems like why we have an issue right here, is because there's an issue here. To carry your insides, people. So these nice supple ones, you know this was taken care of. I don't even have to clean anything. I mean, this is brand new, basically. I mean, how many miles do they have on this thing? This is trash right here. This is a Type S engine. You think they take care of their stuff here. So we're not going to use these. I'm just going to transfer any bolts or what have you here onto this one. And let's see. Let me just put one of these studs in. Those studs are there on that. And we're just going to use these valve covers. These are much healthier looking. So this is why I wear the gown, because this is what we're doing here. It's a transplant at this point. Alright, fellas, so I've got new gaskets on. Put a little oil on them, dip them in oil or something, and then just put them on. Make sure that you're putting them on the right way, so the tubes, when they go in, they seal around it, not in reverse. Put the new seal on. There's little divots here, so you have to make sure that this thing is on the outer side. Let's see what's on the other side. It has to be on the outer side. As well as there's these tabs, 1 tab and 2 tab. Make sure that these tabs fit. So then you just put it back on. Then you went on, but take a rag, put it in there, and use something to then clean the inside there, because you don't want a bunch of gunk in there to be messing with the seal over time. Also, let's see, put that on, put these on. I have those ready, and it's ready to go back on. Please change your oil at 3,000 to 4,000, like I do. All of my engines that I put hundreds of thousands of miles on over the years are brand spanking new, and I have no problems with them. The only problems I have are the ones that I buy used at, like, you know, over 130,000 miles. If somebody hasn't taken care of it, then you'll find me replacing parts, like even the valve covers, because they're just garbage, especially the one that was marred. That's the reason why I completely changed it for these covers. And this is why when people ask, hey, Acura TL builder, why are you saving all these parts? I save parts for these things, so that way I can throw those out and put on these and have nice parts to have on my cars. So then we'll put these back on just the same way we took them off, and everything goes back on reverse. So valve lash, when I was driving this car, the valves are still good. I'm not going to do that today. I don't have time either. That's the chief reason. But I will make a video of that when I am building the other engine on the M90 there. So when I'm building that engine, then we'll do a video of the valve lashes. Alright, here goes. Also, make sure to go around with a clean rag, clean this right here, and then put a little oil on it, or just oil on the gasket itself, because you want to put the mating surface on both sides, on the inside of the gasket itself, and on this right here, you want it all to be clean. Alright fellas, so to get to this one back here, it's kind of tricky. You're going to have to go, try to get the 1/4 inch 10, and you go from back here, and you lift this one up, and you put that on, and you carefully go real slow like. Make sure to hand tighten all of these first, or otherwise it's gonna not be good. Have a goodie. So when you guys are putting these in, I've already got these tightened down. Don't over tighten them. Once they stop, just give it a little bit more, just a little bit more, tiny bit. Because if these are made to stop, and if they're on the stops already and you overdo it, you're gonna ruin the threads on the head. So just all the way down. They're basically made to basically seal up nice by the time they're down at the stop. So these are on. I put this one on already. It just comes back just the way it came off, and this needs to be on. I replaced this thing because the one from the other one was real bad, so I kept this one, which is in great shape, nice and clean. So I put this thing back on. I put that heat shield back on, and this came back on, and I tightened all these down. Now when you put these in, make sure that the valve cover itself is on and all the holes are straight in the middle of the holes on the valve cover, so that way the valve's not one way or another, so it's not lopsided. So, and when you put these in, put them directly, unless it's at the very top one, and this is these two, which are short. These have to go directly down so they meet the threads on the head, and then just hand tighten, then kind of do a star formation when you do it, just to ensure, because you're going steel onto aluminum, and you don't want to ruin the threads on the aluminum. So yeah, it's coming together. I got some more still to do. I'm just putting things back on. I'm going to check the EGR valve before I put the intake manifold back on, because just to make sure it's clean.